to another episode of the Jackson Cloud. I'm Casey.
I'm Jamin.
And I'm Olivia.
And we're going through a Sermon on the Mount. Specifically, the next few weeks are on the Beatitudes.
So it's not actually 9 weeks?
Well,
9 episodes.
9 episodes,
Okay.
yes, of the Beatitudes. And today's, we are on the second Beatitude. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Or, again, blessed could mean like happy are those who mourn, which sounds really ironic on something like that. Or fortunate are those who mourn. And you can take this word different routes. Well, okay, so let's talk about mourning in general, because this is different from culture to culture, right? I mean, at least in much of my experience, white people ain't good at mourning. Like white American like style is sometimes like to be, well, maybe you felt this like growing up. I didn't feel this very strongly. This wasn't really taught in my family, but in some ways there was always this: men don't cry, men don't mourn, men don't shed tears, things like that. Did you ever get any of that?
No, my dad's weird.
Okay, well, the generation before us probably got a lot of that. A pastor friend of mine was showing, if I remember the story right, he said he was showing a movie of the crucifixion or whatever, and when Jesus gets his hands pierced, he like cries out in pain, and some like man in the back was like, "Oh," and he was like, "Hey, what was that about?" He's like, "Men don't cry." It's like, who's this Jesus who's crying? First off, Jesus wept is a verse, an entire verse in the Bible, but also like that is the image of some white males, to say the least, that grew up with this image of like real men don't cry, real men don't mourn, they don't show emotion. So,
Well, I think a lot of that stems from the early cowboy mentality of like, yeah, we shoot guns, we ride on horses, and we do manly things. And that was where I think part of that don't cry mentality came from, is because, oh, you just got shot? Yeah.
walk it off.
Like,
Rub some dirt on it.
we'll be fine.
Here's some alcohol, just pour that in there. I mean, it a lot of that has kind of worn off a little bit, but like when you look at some other cultures, like the mourning is different. Like I don't know if you've ever been to like a black funeral, but like it's a long funeral where everybody gets a chance to take the mic, gets to talk. You're going to be there until it's over. Like that's culturally how it's going to go down. Whereas like something like a white funeral is like, everybody keep it together, don't show a lot of them. Some's okay, but like let's not lose our minds here. Let's keep it chill, keep it down. Stay on schedule. We're gonna get out of here in a decent amount of time. You know, like it's a very different kind of mourning, and it's not even necessarily a bad kind of mourning. But when it tries to chop off mourning, that's where it starts crossing the line. So think of comments, for example, where people have belittled mourning. Can you think of any? Because this happens all the time.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen lots of it, especially around males.
Yeah. So she gets it.
More. I've so many times I've heard people tell males that they're not allowed to cry, or that real men don't cry, or really anything like that.
Yeah, and so you get some of these like you get that kind of cultural growing up with statements, and then in other ways there's other kinds of statements that people use all the time that belittle mourning, and it's always annoying. Like, you know, like someone will come up be like, "Oh, it was their time to go." You know, it's just like, don't worry, God has a plan in this. And I'm like, wait. It's like, first off, I don't think the world is quite that set in place that like, oh, they died in a car crash because God just wanted that to happen. You know, like that doesn't make sense to me. I've written about that in a book. We're not going to go deep into that conversation. But like, it's those kind of belittling statements like, let me take away your mourning with theological crap to like make it a little easier on you, you know.
I know you're feeling feelings right now, but logically, you shouldn't have those feelings.
Yeah. Or I know you're crying. I know this is hard, but they're in heaven now with Jesus, and their life is, like this. Here comes Jesus, who's going to have a hard life and is going to mourn himself, and he gets up in front of the crowd and says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Jesus does not go with the white male mentality of rub some dirt in it, instead he gets up there and is like, "Have you been crying lately? Great. Happy are you, blessed are you, fortunate are you for feeling emotion, you will be comforted." All right, well, here's a question. Have you ever met anyone who just doesn't let you show emotion, as though that's an unbiblical thing to do? So for example, COVID, right? COVID's going on. You come along and it's this is really hard for everyone. Really hard. We are all struggling. And then there always might be that one Christian who comes along and is everything's good with Jesus and life is great and you just need to turn to him. It's don't take my mourning away from me. This sucks. This is not that easy. And does God want me to be generic with him and not be true about what I feel? I run into this sometimes with people who are incapable of telling God how they feel because they're afraid to express emotion. Yet you look at the Psalms and they're all over the place. They'll say whatever they want. It's just "God, this is really hard. Where are you?" And then in another moment, "God, you're the best. Thank you for helping me." And it ranges as to what they say. The prophets do the same. Jeremiah basically seems bipolar sometimes, where it's extreme highs of, "You will conquer my enemy," and then extreme lows of "Why did you make me a prophet in the first place? I hate this." In the same 2 paragraphs next to each other, right? They feel authentically, and they are authentic, real people with real emotions. And nothing holds them back. Now, they're always focused when they're done complaining or done going through all these emotions. They always come back to you, "But God, I follow you. You're in charge. You are right. You are good. You are perfect. You're the one." Right? So that balances out all of their emotions. But God doesn't look down on them in those kind of passages "David, how dare you?" How dare you feel bitter for a moment? Shut your mouth. I will burn this psalm out of the Bible. That's not what happens.
Right.
Oh, Jesus had emotion. God put on flesh and then he cried. He came out of the womb, probably not bright and shiny, lying in a manger and love you, mama. He's probably and then pooping everywhere. This is how humanity works. He went through the range of emotions. Jesus felt the weight of humanity. He had to do the things that we had to do. He had to live. He had to die. He had to pay taxes along the way. He felt it all. And he wept and he cried and he felt the pain.
It'd be so much easier to just get our tax money from fish.
That would be much better.
That's not the moral of the story here.
But there's just so much that happens along the way where Jesus is constantly feeling. And it pains me when the church comes alongside of people grieving. It's just God's bigger than this, right? What are you doing? Why are you crying?
Yeah, as if being happy is what we're supposed to be all the time.
Well, that's what some people preach. Oh, you hit the...
Wow.
This is
I hit the nerve.
That bothers me to this day. One time in high school, was having a rough time. Didn't feel great. Honestly, was quite down. And this girl's response to me being upset was, "But you woke up this morning, so you should be happy."
See, that's what I was talking about earlier. I need statements.
Clearly, I woke up, therefore I'm happy.
I don't think I have ever once woke up happy. If anything, that's the reason I'm mad all the time. I woke up. Why am I awake? Yeah. It's just the church needs to learn to deal with emotion better. And it's different across different cultures. It's different across different countries. People experience it in different ways and deal with it in better ways. There are places where everyone in the room is weeping. And then there are places where everyone in the room is trying to hold it back. And here we find Jesus saying, like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to have problems. Blessed are those who mourn. God sees it. He will comfort you. He's coming for you. He sees your pain. And he cares about you, and he hasn't looked the other way. He's not like, oh, gosh, they're crying. You know, it's like that's not how God reacts to those moments. Instead, he's a loving father who wants to come alongside you and grieve with you and feel your pain with you. He sheds tears for you. In fact, I was just reading Isaiah 17 the other day. I was reading Isaiah 16:9, and it just stood out to me where the prophet says, therefore I weep with the weeping of Jezer for the vine of Sibmah. But then it says, I drench you with my tears, O Heshbon and Elealeh. I don't know how to pronounce these names. But I drench you with my tears. I don't know if that's specifically the prophet speaking or God speaking. But if it is a prophet, then it's on God's behalf. You know, like it's just, what a verse. God drenching you with his tears, as though rainfall itself is God crying, you know. And that is a picture of the pain of Father God, who feels deeply when people are hurting, and felt deeply himself as he comes to earth, puts on humanity, and lives out all the kinds of things that we live out. The Bible says that Jesus was tempted in every way. It's almost this like impression like he was experiencing humanity in every single way. Of course he felt things. Of course he felt pain. So with that being said, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Anybody want to feed into this anymore? Or are we good?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking of application again, just because.
Yeah.
It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel emotion. You should feel emotions. You're called to have your heart broken for those around you.
It's okay to feel things. When someone else comes up to you when you're feeling things and tells you to stop feeling things, it's okay to make them feel things by telling them they're wrong.
Well, also,
Wait.
I'm thinking of another way of putting this is.
No, we're done.
Wait. Casey might actually have the better way to phrase this. For once.
I'm excited for this
is gonna
build-up.
Be better than Jamin's.
So, if you see somebody mourning, comfort them. But not in the way of making their mourning go away, but be with them in that moment of the mourning and be with them.
I'm so proud of you. I was sure you were going to just throw the word knighting in there somewhere as a Casey joke of, if you see someone mourning, knighting with them. Like, just, you know that sounds exactly like something he would do. And you didn't. You did it. I'm so proud.
And on the other hand,
Nope.
No,
Don't.
we're
not. Cut it.
Jamin got a Star Trek reference.
Yeah, his wife is a huge Trekkie.
No, you don't understand. This is the first time I've said a Star Trek reference that Jamin has got it.
I started watching it last week so I could give it as a gift to my wife. I watched Star Trek for you. But then I told her last night, now it's ruined and I don't want to watch it anymore.
Oh no!